Hiya, we're just going to have a look at the drive chain adjustments on a Yamaha 250 Raptor quad bike. Never done this job before. Obviously oil the chain once a week, bike only goes out once a week, so in the 1200 miles I've done with the bike, I've never had to adjust the chain. So I've had a quick read of the Yamaha manual, and it says the first thing to find is these 4 bolts. Let's get my torch. And they clamp the axle, which is eccentric axle. The other thing they tell you to find is inside the sprocket, which you can't see at the moment. It's down there. Let's just roll the bike backwards. I don't know if you can see it in the camera down there now. I'll come back a little bit further. There we are. Right, there we go. There's a hole down there. I'm just going to stick an Allen key in it just to show you. That one there. I haven't got the Allen key in straight at the moment, but that Allen key is meant to be straight. And you either lock it off against one side of the sprocket carrier or the other side, depending whether you're going to tighten or loosen the chain. But I've looked at my chain, and we're aiming for between 30 and 50 millimeters, and my chain's still in tolerance, so on this occasion I won't have to adjust it. And it's still very damp, so I won't even have to oil it on this occasion or lube it up, because as you can see it's still very wet and the O-rings are still very damp. Anyway, basically to do the chain you get a 6mm Allen key and you crack the 4 Allen bolts here, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and it releases the clamp on the axle. And the idea of putting the Allen key in here is when you push the bike forward, you got the key in the hole, it locks on the sprocket, it spins the axle in its carrier, which either tightens the chain up, or if you go the other way and rock it the other way, it'll loosen the chain. But luckily on this occasion I don't need to adjust the chain, so that's just a little indicator of how to quickly adjust your chain, very quickly check your chain, because what you don't want to do on any motorcycle, be it competition bike, motocross bike, road bike, if you have the chain too slack, it rattles and it clanks and it bangs and it does a lot of damage to the frame and the swinging arm. If you have them too tight, you can actually damage the gearbox bearings and also stand a good possibility of snapping the chain. So there is a tolerance on this chain. It's 35 to 50 millimeters. Personally, I always aim for the somewhere between 45 50 millimeters. I tend to always go for the high side, because I don't know when we go out, if you come off a big jump, I don't want to stress the chain out, I don't want to stress the gearbox out. So that's just a little quickie on the chain adjustment. You can see it's ever so easy on this one. Yamaha, fair dues to them, it's well designed, and they've made it very simple. Next thing I want to do to the bike is check the oil. So I'm just going to go around to the dipstick. Again, I'm going to have to hold the camera and the torch at the same time. This engine's been stood now 24 hours, so there's the dipstick. If I wedge the torch there, you can still see it. If I remember right, oh, it's tight as well. Let me get a rag. I just want to wipe the end of the dipstick. Where's my rag? Put it on the seat. Okay. So I've undone the dipstick. I've pulled it out. There's oil on the end of the dipstick. I can see it dripping already. I'll just put the camera in between my legs. On my legs there. When I can get it to stay. I'm just going to wipe the stick. You don't actually screw the dipstick in on this engine when you dip it. You just drop it onto the casting. Doesn't need to be screwed in. And I can see the oil level already. And it's on the max and it's still nice and clean because it's only been in there 3 weeks. Okay, so I'm happy with the oil level now. These are the kind of things you need to do before every single ride. I did it yesterday before I went out. Make sure that dipstick's tight because you don't want it coming out, because you will lose all your oil and you'll end up with a very wet foot as well. So that's my dipstick oil level checked. Next thing I'm going to check is for any free play in the back brake, and I haven't got any, because as soon as I touch the brake I can hear the brake pads engaging in the caliper, so you might see the caliper move when I stand on it. I doubt it. I've got no free play in that at all. The back brake's going to come on as soon as I touch it. Just give a visual on all your hoses. No cracks in them, all the covers are on them. Check your fluid reservoir. I can see this one from here and the level's fine. I just have a general grab and a tug. Make sure everything's fastened on. The other thing I always check on this is to make sure there's no weeps from the oil cooler pipes. The pipes haven't got damaged. And follow them up to the oil cooler. They disappear up there. There's no chaffs on the pipes. There's a lot of mud up there. It's because she needs a good clean. She was only hosed off yesterday when I got home because it was very late. And then I'll just generally grab each swinging arm. You can see if you've got any play in anything. I'll have a quick check of all the rubber boots. There's no splits or oil. I can see my caliper from here. I can just about see my brake pads and they've still got meat on them. I should really take the wheel off to check them, but I know they've only just been changed. So all I'll do now is I'll just check the other side. I'll have a quick tug on the wheel. There's no bearing play in that one. There's no bearing play in the back one either. It doesn't matter having a swing on everything. I'll just make sure I've got no broken indicators, no broken lights. My grab handle's still fastened to the bike. Got my cage over. Again, I'll just do a quick visual on this side of the bike. I think I got a bit of play in that wheel bearing. There's nothing in the swinging arms. I'm just going to jack the bike up, I think, and check that front wheel bearing. I'm just going to turn the camera off, put the torch down. I'll be back. Right, what I've done now is I've set a jack up with a block of wood under the chassis of the bike because I want to check the front wheel bearings. I haven't got the handbrake on because I don't like leaving the bike with the handbrake on in case it seizes up. So I've made a chock for the back wheel so it can't roll away. And now, let's proceed in jacking her up. Jack's a bit of an overkill, I agree with you there. She's off the floor. Now, what I want to try and do here is set the camera up so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah. Just wedge the camera up like that. Something underneath there. Just wedged up on a piece of wood. Right. As you see, front wheel's off the floor. What I want to check now is I've got no play in the steering, and I'm going to drag the wheel top and bottom, and I'm just going to gently pick it up to see if there's any play in the wishbones. Spin it, see if I can hear any roughness, which I can't. Rock it on 4 corners, and I can't feel anything in that wheel. I'm just going to put it on full lock and check for any free play in the steering mechanism, which there isn't. So I'm happy with that wheel now. That one feels good. The rock on that I felt on the floor, there's a lack of pressure. I'm just going to do the other side quickly. No, all the suspension's still nice and tight, so I thought I might have had a wheel bearing issue, but I haven't. It's only having 3 psi in my tyres, and it was rocking on the tyres, and that's what I could hear. So that's just a quick how to check. Let's have the camera again. Yeah. You should be able to hear that. All you can hear is the pads catching on the disc. There's no coarseness in the wheel bearing, which you don't want any coarseness in the wheel bearing, because that means you've got to pull this assembly off, change the hub bearings. The other thing I've just checked is, whilst I was rocking it up and down, I need my torch. I was checking for play in the top ball joint there and the bottom ball joint there. The moisture on that one's water from cleaning it, hasn't dried off yet. It's not a split joint. I was checking the play in them, and I was checking the play in the tie rod end on the end of the steering arm there, because there's a tie rod end there and there's another tie rod end up there on the steering arm. I've got no play in any of them. I've got no play in any of my wishbone mounts, either the bottom ones or the top ones. There's no play in the top shock absorber mount, and there's no play in the bottom one on either side of the bike. And whilst you're doing a quick visual, just have a good look for any cracks in the chassis, because to be honest, these things get a pasting. There is no cracks in this one. Check your whilst you've got your torch out and you're having a good look, just have a visual of your engine mounts. sump guard. Gear levers tight and attached. You've got no missing bolts. All the wires are plugged on for the neutral light switch and the inhibitor. Whilst you're down here, you can also check your front sprocket for wear. This one's okay. Check the clutch cable that you can see on the clutch arm, which is down there. A quick visual of your carburettor, make sure none of the boots are split. Inlet manifold's not split. Fuel's turned off obviously whilst it's been sat in the garage. Just wedge the torch there. Quick check, make sure plug cap's nice and tight. Make sure everything's working. Fuel tap turns on, turns off, onto reserve, nothing's seized up. That's basically my quick check of the chassis. I'm going to move up onto the handlebars now. And I'm going to have a quick look at, let's see if we can get rid of the torch, as soon as we're up here. Clutch on one of these should be very light, you should be able to pull it with one finger. Let's get the correct hand. Well, I tend to use two fingers, it tends to be them two when I've got my gloves on. But this clutch is light enough for one finger. And it doesn't feel coarse or anything, it feels very, very nice. Then, the Yamaha handbrake is very, very clever, it's just a matter of clunk, it's on, it's off. It's on. Once you've got it on, the bike won't move, it's working. Okay. So I'm happy with my clutch. None of my switch gears broken, that's all. Indicators are working. My hazards are working, as you can see. Whilst you're on to the other side now, just check your throttle's responding correctly. Grab your front brake on one of these. There should be no free play in that lever at all, it should just be instantaneous. I'll just get my torch again, I just want to check the front brake fluid reservoir. Let's flick the handlebars that way. What you're looking for is the window there, where you can see the colour of the fluid through the window. On this one, I'm right on the max. So, brake fluid on this is okay as well. I know I got no leaks. Once you're up here again, quick visual of everything you can see. Nothing's come loose. There's no loose bolts, everything's fastened on. To be honest, that's about all you need to do once a week. Just a quick walk around the bike. I always start at the back, check my chain, tyres, bearings, have a tug and play on things, work my way around the bike, check the oil, front, check all the front suspension, wishbones, wheel bearings, quickly jack it up, just have a quick rock on everything once there's no load on everything. Have a real good visual of the bike, make sure nothing's broken, there's nothing obvious that you've missed. There's no cracks appeared in the chassis anywhere. So I've only got one quick job I need to do now, and that is just to check the air filter. But before I do that, I'm going to put my torch down again, move my rag out of the way, bike's on its chock. Bring the ladder down to the floor. Leave the jack there for a second. Let's go round to the back of the bike. Because underneath here is the seat release. So I'm going to crack the seat off now. Pop the torch off again. My hand down there. And remove the seat. And fair dues to Yamaha, they've made this job very, very simple. I've not lost any tools, nothing moved. I'm just going to pop the 4 poppers off the airbox. And I'm going to lift the lid up. A quick visual of the lid, make sure there's nothing broken, nothing missing. Get me torch again. I'm going to have a quick visual check of the air filter. It's dusty in there. Filter's still clean. I'm not going to take her off because she only came off 2 weeks ago and was cleaned and re-oiled. I just want to make sure there's no nasties crept in. It's not full of water, which it isn't, so that's okay. Seat, where do I throw the airbox? On the back wheel. So let's pop the airbox back on. I always have fun with this. Every time I do it, the clips move. There is a right way and a wrong way of doing it. I'm trying to do it with one hand at the moment. You've got to really do it with 2, but I'm trying to hold the camera for you as well. And I'm not having a lot of luck because one of them's just popped up under there. Let's have another go. Get that one out of the way. Don't laugh. There she goes, back on. Then it's just a matter of popping the 4 clippers back on. There's one more to go. That's that one there. Just quick wiggle on the airbox, make sure it's okay. Shake the tank. Okay, I'm happy under there now. Slide my seat back on because I've got a clip. There's clips there where it mounts. There's a clip on the front. If you don't get the clip in the front, you can lift the seat off the fuel tank. That was the one I was struggling with with one hand. You do need 2 to do that. And then you just give the back of the seat a tap and it locks it in position. The only other thing I am going to check whilst I'm here, I'm going to quickly check my fuel level. Because yesterday I did a fair few miles. And as per usual, I've still got fuel in the tank. I don't know how many miles I did. So I'm going to put the key in a sec and check the trips. I've got the ignition on now. I'll sit on the bike for the next bit, it's easier. Make sure she's in neutral, which she is. Just quickly, let's zoom out of that a little bit. I don't know if you can see the clocks. There we go. Yes, it's 5 past midnight. There's 1,259 miles on the bike. I did 48.4 miles yesterday. I've done 152.7 miles this weekend. My total ride time on the bike is 45 hours and 51 minutes. And the ride time I had yesterday, 1 hour 56, and that was to do that 48 miles. My average speed yesterday was 24.8 miles an hour, and my maximum was 67 miles an hour. And I'm not sure where I did that, but it's obviously registered a maximum speed. So, okay, we won't worry about that. Once I've got the ignition turned on, I'm going to check my low beam, check my high beam. One indicator, and rear indicator on that side's working. I can see that one flashing in the garage door. I can actually see that one flashing as well, so I've got all my indicators working. Whilst I'm sat here, we've got a brake light on the front and back, got a brake light on the front. Knock the indicators off. And I've also got side lights, and my brake lights are working front and rear when the side lights are on. That pretty much sums up most of the checks that you need to do at least weekly. Monthly, I would say, and the hazards are working, so all the legalities on the bike are in order. Myself, I would say, if you're only riding 40-50 miles a week, when you get home, clean it off, let it stand overnight, and just give it a good once over. I've probably only spent 20 minutes doing that. That's just covered the bases really, so you know when you've actually drag it out of the garage next weekend, if that's when you intend bringing it out. Because if you're like me, you only get time once a week to ride them. You know you've already done your checks, you've gone through the bike, you know everything that you need to check is checked. You know you've got oil in the engine, gearbox, you know your chain's at the right tension and it's lubed. You know you've got tread on your tyres. You've checked all four as you're walking around the bike. You've checked your rear wheel bearings, you've checked your swinging arm for play, you've checked your front back shock absorber for play. You've moved around, obviously you've done your oil. You've checked right hand front wheel suspension, you've done left hand front wheel suspension. You've checked the frame over visibly for damage and cracks. You've checked all the pipes for the oil cooler for damage and cracks. You've checked your cables, you've checked your wiring whilst you've been wandering around the bike. You've checked your clutch is nice and free. You've checked your front brake's got no free playing in working. You've checked your rear brake. Obviously I've checked all my lights, my high beam, my low beam. I've checked my indicators, I've checked my hazard warners. Haven't checked my horn, it's too late, I'll just wake the neighbours up. I know my tail light's working, I know my rear light's working, I know my rear indicators are working, so I'm happy now to leave this alone now till next Sunday when I get free time to go out on her again. I know I've got fuel in her to go out, we've only done 50 miles. I know she's good for about 120 miles on a tank of fuel, so I've got another weekend in the tank. And obviously being a 4-stroke, I'm not carrying 2-stroke oil with me, so it's only a matter of diving into any petrol station, topping her up, bringing her home, washing her off, putting her back in the garage, and just basically going right through it again like I have done just now again next week. So there we are, that's just a quick weekly maintenance schedule on your YFM 250 Yamaha Raptor, and I would suspect a lot of what I've just checked will carry over onto 99% of chain driven quad bikes with solid rear axles. A lot of the checks you can also do on your 4-wheel drive quads with the diffs. Obviously then you've got to check your drive shaft gaiters, your CV joints, your 4-wheel drive system engages and works properly, your high-low diffs work properly, but I haven't got them worries on this bike. It's just a simple race 250 quad, which obviously gets used for green laning. Use it on the road predominantly. It doesn't get raced, so it doesn't get a particularly hard life. And we just have a lot of fun with her. She's good fun. She's a great little bike. Whatever floats your boat really when it comes to bikes. You ride whatever you feel like riding. If you want to ride a 125, ride a 125. They're bloody good fun. I'm a fan of 250 engines. Just something about me and 250s, I get on with them really, really well. I think they're powerful enough to do what I want to do. To cruise at 50-55 miles an hour on the road, it's ample. I don't really want to go much faster on a quad bike on tarmac. They're a bit unstable. But once you get them off road, it's when they come into their own. That's what they're all about. And for green laning, I personally don't need anything bigger than my little baby here, because the one advantage I have got, and I do get stuck, is she only weighs 150 kilos, probably about 170 when she's covered in mud, but I can still pick her up and move her. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and happy trail biking, happy enduro riding, happy motocross riding, happy quad biking, be it off-road or green laning. And if I don't make another video before now and the new year, everybody have a great Christmas and have an absolutely amazing new year, and may next year be better than this one. Thanks for listening. Bye.